Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.
Buffy, I like you. A lot. And I know we're friends, and we've had experiences. And we've fought some blood-sucking fiends, and that's all been a good time. But I want more. I want to dance with you.
Xander, you're one of my best friends. You and Willow.
Well, Willow's not looking to date you. Or if she is, she's playing it pretty close to the chest.
I don't want to spoil the friendship that we have.
Well, I don't want to spoil it either. But that's not the point, is it? You either feel a thing or you don't.
I don't. Xander, I'm sorry. I just don't think of you that way.
We'll try. I'll wait.
Xander.
No. Forget it. I'm not him. I mean, I guess the guy's got to be undead to make time with you.
That's really harsh.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't handle rejection well.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Buffy. We're just two boys watching every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, reviewing, reacting to each episode. We are your hosts. I'm Joe Welke.
I'm Vance.
And today we're finishing off season 1 with the episode Prophecy Girl, written and directed by Joss Whedon. The original air date was June 2nd, 1997, to an audience of 3.97 million people. And there's a lot of drama in this one. There's a lot of heart on the sleeve. There's romance. There's stakes. All kinds of stuff going on here.
Yeah, this is this episode is classic finale level stuff. And yeah. I'm really interested in finding out what you thought of this and diving into the ending of this whole thing.
Yeah. I feel like this one was the least funny. Like a lot of the other ones were super funny. Like this one wasn't that funny.
I felt like this episode setups reacted to stuff that never set up. All
right. I'm hoping that you'll explain that a little bit.
Something early on that has that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get to it. So we open the episode. The Master is still trapped in his hole. Mark Metcalf as the Master. Then Xander is practicing a speech that he's planning to give to Buffy about how much he likes her and wants to ask her to the spring fling. And he's practicing it on Willow, and Willow's like doe-eyed, like, oh, he's talking this to me. And she's like, you can practice on me as long as you want, Xander.
Yeah, I was happy that they revealed that he wasn't like talking into a mirror like we've seen before.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
And I was going to give it a pass considering this came out 20 some years ago. So I was also going to be like, fine, it's not as big of a trope before, you know. But I did like that it's Willow because it adds an extra level to her hearing this. It's like she's been dealing with this all season, and this is full on.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm confessing my love to Buffy, to you, Willow. I'm practicing. Do you mind? If you maybe punch up my "I love you" speech? And Willow's just sitting there like, this hurts so bad.
Yeah, let's have a little brainstorm sesh.
And of course they're at the Bronze while they're doing this, and they're like, well, where's Buffy? Like, why isn't she here tonight? I want to tell her tonight. And then Willow's like, you know where Buffy is. And it's like, well, how do you not know where Buffy is, Xander?
Why are you guys not with Buffy?
Right?
If you're not with Buffy, I said this before, if you're not with Buffy, you're at home. Because this town is dangerous.
It's littered with creatures and vampires and robots and aliens.
Yeah.
just everything. Like even some of the good guys are vampires at this point.
Yeah. Like good guys are witches and vampires. Like
yeah. So we cut to Buffy, who is fighting vampires in just a random field. It looked like, was that in the graveyard?
I think she's fighting at Makeout Point because Cordelia's there with her new bow.
Yeah, you see the fogged up. Well, as soon as we saw the fogged up car, because everybody's asking where Buffy is, I was like, is Buffy making out with Angel in the car? But no, Buffy slow-mo gets her ass kicked by a vampire.
Yeah.
And then Cordelia's like, what was that? Did you hear something? The guy's like, no, I didn't hear anything, babe. Let's just keep smooching.
Yeah.
Little do they know there is supernatural vampire fights going on just 20 feet away from them.
It's a good bookend for the season because the first episode starts with Darla going into the school with the guy and doing that fake out like, hey, do you hear anything? Did you hear that? So, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Then Buffy kills the vampire. She's like, whew, 3 in one night. This is a new record or whatever. Giles will be proud.
Yeah, this is the line for me. This is the line for me where I'm like, what are they referencing? Because she says it all. Giles would be proud, like as if Giles had died. like she's looking up in the sky. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, you've been fighting vampires this whole season.
Yeah. I guess Giles is usually with her, and maybe that's why she was like, I guess if only Giles were here.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? Like that references. I mean, it's setting up the episode later and how they like each other and feel connected, but that is not what their relationship has been through the course of the season.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we only really saw Giles with her fighting vampires, like that one episode where like they were starting out and he was like, oh, you're wasting energy. You got to fight it more. I don't know what I'm saying.
Less flashy stuff, less punches, just stab, get out.
Yeah, exactly.
He just wanted her to be more efficient. And then he tried to train her before giving her a crossbow and all that stuff. He's been helping her out. He cares when she's sick, like the witch episode when she was dying. He was really caring. But yeah, it's like, you know.
But then we cut to Giles, who is researching the book that Angel got for him, the Codex of all vampire prophecies or whatever it is. And while he's doing this, he's translating it, and it says like, "Oh, the Master will rise, and the Slayer shall." And then he does that classic like, "Oh, what's he say?" And then an earthquake happens.
Yeah, and I was like, "Is this an earthquake?" Or is it something else? And
that's what I was wondering. And what?
My God, that joke at the end is just so lame.
Yeah.
This, like, the Master's like yelling up at the sky and he's like, my time, glory is my glory. And then it like stops and he looks at the anointed one and he's like, what'd you think? 5.1?
Yeah. It was just a regular California earthquake going on.
Yeah. And a regular California earthquake, it ripped up the library's floor. Like the foundation was ripped. And when that happened, I was like, oh, how are they going to still use the school? Like,
yeah, I mean, and a 5.1, I feel like that's not enough to do that.
It's like, a lot. I mean, if it was centered underneath the school, sure. Like, it depends on where it's centered, but.
That's true. Because I feel like since I've been out in LA, I've been through like some 4-point somethings earthquakes, and it was just like, you know, stuff wasn't like fucked up necessarily.
I mean, I guess it depends on where you are in vicinity.
My skateboard fell. That was about it.
I've definitely had the walls shake back and forth. Like I was sitting on the couch, like no TV on at the time, and just like I don't know what I was doing, but I just looked, and it was just like you just see everything like undulating, and it was really, I don't know, a couple of them. It happens. They're short usually, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time it was July 4th. I woke up to an earthquake. I just saw my clothes swinging in my closet. And then the next day I had a date with a girl, And it was a bad date. We were having a rough time. I was not bringing my A game. She wasn't bringing her A game. Or we just didn't have a connection. But while we were on the date, another earthquake happened. And we still had nothing to talk about. It was like, whoa, this is the second one, huh? And she's like, yep. I was like, oh, man, this is going rough.
Yeah. Those one-word responses to a big earthquake. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, it was not the best date I've ever been on. But, yeah, so the master had nothing to do with the earthquake, long story short. He was just reveling in the chaos, I guess.
Oh, but I guess we should say Giles is reading that codex. Yeah, did you mention the codex and the prophecy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's all worried about, he's like, the master of Buffy. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have the opening song, and then Buffy shows up at school the next day, and she tells Giles, like, hey, I killed 3 vampires last night. There's a lot of vampires going on. And Giles is all frazzled and distracted because of the prophecy that he read, and he's been up all night.
He reacts like he's surprised to see her. Like, yeah. If you read the prophecy right, spoiler, the prophecy is that she'll die when she fights the master.
Yeah.
Does he think she fought the master last night? And that's what the earthquake was?
I don't know. I think it's kind of more like he's reveling in the fact, like, this might be the last time I see Buffy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
The guys in this episode are very problematic, too. Very, very problematic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But I'll get to that when they come up.
So, Buffy's like, I figured that you would care a little bit more about all the vampires I've been killing. And he's just like, well, I'm a little distracted. I'm sorry. And she's like, well, whatever. I have to go to a fate worse than death. And he's like, what is it? And she's like, biology class.
And you're like, oh, yeah, this is a WB show.
Yeah.
It's really fun to see this contrasted with his distinguished Britishness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because he plays it straight the whole time. Like, he does not do joke setups like that. Like, they keep him, it's in his character, so it works.
Yeah. So then we cut to Xander, Willow, and Buffy leaving biology class, just talking about how boring it was. And Willow's like, man, I'm a science nerd, and even that was boring for me. And Buffy's like, don't say that about yourself. And she's like, what?
She's like, oh, nerds are cool now, right?
We're in the computer age.
Yeah. And I don't remember exactly when nerds became cool or trendy, but I don't think it was 97.
Definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't. So then Xander's like, hey, Willow, don't you need to go do something? And she's like, what? He's like, don't you have that thing that you need to leave me alone with Buffy to go do? And she's like, oh, right, that thing. I must go do that thing that I'm going away to now.
Yeah.
And so she walks away. And then Xander's like, hey, Buffy, can I talk to you for a second? She's like, yeah, sure, what's up? And he's like, let's go sit over there. And he points to a bench where there's already a guy sitting. And they walk over to the bench. And then Xander taps the guy on the shoulder and goes, hey, leave. And then the guy just leaves.
Yo, we brought this up in another episode. What is his status in the school that he can do that?
Yeah, right.
Like, that is a classic 90s, early 2000s jock cool guy move to just be like, hey, beat it.
Yeah. And then the nerd beats it.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. Hey, leave.
Yeah.
The
they were treating him like Lance in the hyena episode.
Yeah.
You know?
So that guy leaves. They sit down, and Xander finally nuts up and is like, hey, look, I like you. We've been through a lot of experiences together. I want to go to the spring fling dance with you as a date. I really like you. And that would be awesome if you'd say yes. And Buffy's like, ooh, I don't think of you that way. And he's like, why? Because I'm not Angel.
Yeah, he's like, you could try. You know,
Yeah,
like at
that
first
was
it's like
rough.
it's real earnest at first, and I'm like, yeah, wow, like that speech
That's
is
what
a
I
lot. That speech is a lot better than what you were practicing.
Yes,
Like, I
dude,
was like,
that's what
this
I
is-
was thinking.
I was like, all right, Xander, this is some depth, you know. Like he's like, it's just what you feel, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you know, you feel this way, you have to tell her. You can't just pretend that you just want to be friends. I'm
Yeah.
down, and then as soon as he gets rejected, that rapey hyena comes out of him. And he's just like, well, you could try to love me. Oh, well, I guess I'll never be him. And she's like, dude, that's low. I'm like, man, you're getting a sign of what he would be like in a real relationship. Like, he's not great. That was the problematic part. Yeah,
I mean, I was with you. Like, he was very earnest, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is good, Xander. But looking at Buffy's face as he's doing it, I was like, oof.
And she does such a good... Like, this episode is an acting showcase for all the actors. Buffy gets a big one. Willow gets a huge one. I still question the motivation of that, but their performances are great.
It's a tour de force, Vance.
Yeah. I mean, they were like, hey, we need a second season. We need to get picked up.
So, yeah, after Xander's like, well, I guess I'll just never be him, and you're hung up on him, and Buffy's like, that's pretty... He was like, sorry, I just don't handle rejection well, and you think I'd be better with all the practice I've had. And Buffy's just like, I'm sorry. And he's like, don't be. And he walks away.
Yeah. It was like they had it at the beginning, got problematic in the middle, and then he tried to save it with, I don't handle rejection well. I'm like, yeah, you don't. And you really don't. And this high school relationship, probably not going to last.
No, absolutely not. So then we cut to Giles, who's on the phone with somebody. And then the computer teacher, I forget her name. I feel like it's like Janice or something.
I don't know her name. I had her written down as
Jenny Calendar. That's her name.
She's in my notes as Internet Witch.
I have her in my notes as Computer Lady.
Yeah, right. Close enough. Both accurate.
Her name is Jenny Calendar.
Oh, yeah.
She shows up and she's concerned about something. She's like, hey, man, there's some crazy shit going on in this town. There's people dying all over the place. And Giles is like, what do you know?
Yo, again, he gets so like they get to a point she's reading off headlines, and then she starts telling him about this one guy that knows about the Anointed. He's like, what, the Anointed? What do you have to talk to him? She's like, what? You haven't given me any information. He's like, do what I say.
Yeah.
Like, jeez. I'm like, man.
Just do it, woman.
Yeah, these guys are like not handling any pushback from women in this episode. Yeah.
And even Jenny Calendar looks at him like, why are you talking? What's up with you today, buddy?
And he's like, oh, I'm just
sorry, I don't handle rejection well. I'll never be Angel.
I have a lot of books on my mind.
So she's like, well, I'll do the research, but you better tell me what's up. And he's like, all right, I will once you do the research.
I'm like, how is she supposed to research without the information? You don't know what you're looking for. Dude, and the information isn't that hard.
The plan is flawed, Vance.
Because we've watched these episodes the way we watched them, I remember more stuff about them, And the Anointed one, it was like 5 people died. And they thought they killed the Anointed one in the funeral home, right?
Yeah.
Find out what happened to the other 4 people that died.
Yeah.
Like, it's an easy track.
Yeah, I guess they just didn't think that. They were just like, no, we killed him. He's dead. Bye.
Giles was like, instead of looking at newspaper, I want to read through these big books, and we'll just look through them. We'll just look through them and hope we find something. You know how fast we're all speed readers here.
Yeah. So then Cordelia asks Willow for a favor, which I kind of enjoyed this exchange where she goes up to Willow and she's like, hey, I really like your outfit. And Willow's like, no, you don't. What do you want? And Cordelia's like, you're right. I hate your outfit. Can you help set up speakers at the Bronze for the dance? She's like, fine.
and I keep bringing it up, but why is the prom at the Bronze?
Yeah, dude, there's only one place in this town.
We know that this school has a gymnasium.
Yeah.
School dances were in the gym. Or it was in a meeting space or something, but it was always on school grounds. It was never at a privately owned, I mean, not all, like some stuff was outside of school.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Not a lot of major, I guess our prom was outside of school.
Yeah, my prom was outside of school.
I don't know. Everything seems to be at the prom. So
see, every prom that I ever went to was except for maybe like 1 or 2 were like outside of school. But like this is spring fling, so maybe it's less of a prom.
Well, the mom says, yeah, she's like spring fling or prom or whatever you're calling it for legal purposes. Don't sue us, prom, big prom.
Yeah,
like well,
is prom copyrighted by somebody?
I mean, this is '97. I think prom wasn't like a questionable thing. Like, I don't know why they couldn't say prom.
Yeah, that was very weird. But it's the spring fling dance, Vance.
Yeah. And why would Cordelia want to go back to the place where she almost got her face cut off?
No idea. No, but also why would she want to go back to that school where she saw a dead teacher in the fridge? Nobody can go anywhere at this place.
True. She almost died on stage at the Bronx too.
Dude, exactly. Like an episode ago. A single episode ago.
But the beginning of the show, that vampire was about to bite her on the stage.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, then Willow sees Xander, who's just throwing a tennis ball at a wall, as a troubled young man does.
You got to throw a ball off a wall in an empty classroom. You know how school works.
So Willow comes up and she's like, so how did it go? And it goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, it sucked.
We get a lot of Xander talking to himself after scenes in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Like long tangents. Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, she said no, and she doesn't see me that way. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. And Willow's like, oof, that sucks. That's a bad time. And he's like, you know what? Willow, do you want to go to the dance with me? It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. And Willow's like, absolutely not. I do not want to go to this dance with you and just be there with you while you're wishing that you were there with Buffy. She's like, that is not my idea of a good time. And I was like, go Willow.
Same. I was like, Willow finally stands up for herself.
Yeah. Well, it was like, I was feeling good about everybody standing up for themselves. Like I felt good about Xander until he was like an asshole.
Yeah. I was fine with him shooting a shot with Buffy. Like there's nothing wrong with asking people out. You just got to take the rejection as it is. Like, there's two options. He says yes or she says no.
Yeah.
And you have to prepare for both.
And then Willow stands up for herself here, where she's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to go with you. I don't want to be second fiddle, basically.
Yeah.
And Xander's like, well, great. I guess I'll just go home and listen to country music, the music of the pained or whatever.
I really wish they would have panned to someone else being in the room in the back and just being like, hey, could you just shut up? I'm trying to study.
Yeah.
Or just something. Like that tangent is so long and slow.
Yeah. And he's also still throwing the ball against the wall. And then he just like hucks it at the wall.
Yeah.
Because he's pissed. So then Buffy's back in school. She's getting prepared to go out vampire hunting. And she grabs her steak and she turns on the sink in the bathroom and it starts spewing blood. And then she goes to tell Giles about it. She's like, Giles, you won't believe what I just saw. And she goes into the library and Angel is there with Giles and they're talking about the prophecy and the codex. And she's like, what is going on here? Why is Angel here? And then she overhears that the prophecy means like the master will rise and the slayer will die. And that's the big cut to commercial break.
You know what's really interesting about this is that, just bringing it up now, we never find out about the blood in the sink again.
Nope.
And why
that's just Hellmouth shit.
Yeah, that's just like, we need something weird to happen so that she can go into the room and overhear. And I do like that they set up that he called someone and told him to come at nightfall. And when he did that, I'm like, why would you have anyone show up at nightfall? It's like come in at high noon, middle of the day where vampires aren't out, you know?
Yeah.
But then it's him, and I'm like, oh, cool. I kind of like him and Angel talking together.
Yeah, because it's like they're trying to get to the bottom of this to save Buffy, you know?
But I got a lot of problems with Angel not doing anything. Like, you're a super strong vampire.
Yeah.
Why don't you, start fighting? I don't know.
He's too busy being brooding, Vance.
Oh my God, he's so brooding. His brooding level is... I really do think that's how he got cast. Like, I feel like it was close with some people. Eventually, I'll look up who was in the running. So I don't...
Can I also ask Can I ask you here, does his hair look like he dyed it blonde a little bit in this episode? It looks lighter than usual.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little catty bitchy thing that I noticed.
Joe's fashion corner thing. Is he doing highlights?
Yeah.
You know, he's had a rough, like Buffy turned him down. She knows he's a vampire. You know, he's going through his mid ever life phase crisis.
So back from commercial break, Buffy is upset that she's going to die. And she's like, I don't want to die. I'm only 16 years old. Giles like, I don't want to die. And he's like, well, that's what the prophecy says.
Well, it's in a book, so.
And then she's like, well, you know what? Fuck all this. She takes off her cross that Angel gave her. She throws down her stake and she's like, I quit. I can't be killed if I quit. I'm not the Slayer anymore. I quit. And then they're like, it doesn't work like that. And she's like, yes, it does.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good scene for her. Like, she's real emotional. Like, she's like, I'm a 16-year-old girl. Like, there's a line that she says where she's like, I know the deal, you know? I go, they send another Slayer, you know? Will she be the same? Will she be the same age? Or she asked some questions.
She said something to Giles like, are you going to train her too?
Yeah. And I was really, 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 really confused about where Slayers come from. Because did he move to Sunnydale and then she got kicked out of school to move there? Like, how did they? It seemed like he discovered her.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, you two are Watcher Slayer team up. It's like, hey, I know you're a Slayer. I'm actually a Watcher. Watchers do this. Like, he had to explain that to her. But where does she come from?
Well, it seemed like she was slaying before she even met Giles. Like at our previous school, she was slaying.
Yeah, and did someone tell her she was a Slayer? Or did she punch a vampire through the heart and go, oh.
Yeah.
Like, what? Who sends? Who sends the new Slayer? Like, I know we'll get into this later, but it's weird that they say it so matter-of-fact here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about, like, who's the Slayer and where they come from, that's got to be answered in later seasons.
I'm sure they will. I'm
because
sure
otherwise
we'll get deeper into the lore, but I don't know if it will retroactively work, you know?
Yeah.
Like, was she born and then, like, I don't know. Because she seemed freaked out by the dream she was having at the beginning. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of the lore that I just don't get right now, and hopefully they have some answers for us later.
Another question I had with this scene. Why does Buffy believe this book?
Right? Well, why does any of them believe the book? I mean, Giles himself is like, she's already thwarted a bunch of prophecies.
It seems like he would be, if he's been a Watcher for this long, I'm sure it still takes an emotional toll on you, but he would have had to have seen, like, you know, she could die any day. Like, it's not like she can just die because she fights the Master.
Yeah.
Like, she can die just because she's fighting the three or whatever. And,
well, I mean, earlier in the episode, she's saying like, hey man, these vampires are getting really strong. Like I broke a nail while killing this one. And Giles is just like, yeah, whatever, you got it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where she also mentioned that more vampires are coming to the town.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're coming from other places to Sunnydale because the Hellmouth is opening or the Master is drawing them in. And which I was like, is that where they come from? They're like taking buses and trips to like what
taxi.
Yeah, like they're I don't know.
So she quits being the Slayer and then she walks out of the library. Willow calls Xander, who's wallowing to country music, and he hangs up on her immediately and then takes the phone off the hook. Buffy's
do you think he has his own line?
Yeah, that was what was wild to me.
I think he has his own line.
He has to.
Yeah.
I was always jealous of those kids.
We had a second line for internet back in the dial-up days, but we didn't have our own line.
See, we only had one line, and it was internet. It was talking on the phone. It was everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. Those were the days.
Yeah, but after 8 o'clock, parents weren't really on the phone.
That's true.
Yeah.
So then Buffy is going through photo albums of her and her mom and her family because she's like, I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm going to die. the mom comes in. She's like, you okay? And Buffy's like, yeah, I'm all right, whatever.
And for any young listeners, a photo album is like Instagram if it was printed out. If you printed out an Instagram and put it in a book.
But Buffy's like, Mom, let's go away. Let's leave this town this weekend. Let's just go because she's afraid to die. And the mom's like, you know that the gallery's open on weekends. We can't do that.
Buffy is in shambles. Like, she looks like she had some real traumatizing stuff happen to her.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, yeah, now the gallery's open. Like, I mean, and later, the mom's like, is this about the spring fling? About a boy and a dance? Did no one ask you? I'm like, she's crying, and the first thing the mom goes to is boy trouble.
Well, she's looking through a photo album of, like, her whole history, and she's like, you didn't get asked to the dance, did you?
I was like, wow, this mom is just like, she's like, I bought you a pretty dress. This should solve your imminent death picture. Like,
well,
man.
she does have a story about how, like, you know, I went to a dance alone, and that's where I met your father. And she was like, well, and Buffy's like, was he there alone? And the mom was like, no, he was with somebody else, but that's a story for another day.
Or
like,
a story I won't tell or something.
Yeah, I was like, you tell that story right now. This is a juicy story.
This might be the most interesting story you have. Also, Buffy doesn't care about the dress and the dance. Like she gets roped into this. But I'm like, no, you're worried about your mortality.
Well, I also have questions about, like, how rich they are, because Buffy sees the dress. She's like, you know, we can't afford this. And the mom's like, the way you've been eating, we can definitely afford it.
Yeah, that's not how food works.
Yeah, I don't understand.
you don't buy it, cook it, don't eat it, and then you save money.
Yeah.
And had she not been eating for like one night? She seemed like she was completely fine before.
I have no idea.
And I will say, dresses for women are like really tough because that's a one wear and it's done. And we guys get a chance to like rent their prom tuxes and just hand it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Cordelia's with Willow, and she's talking about how, like, she thinks that the guy she's with is cute and all the stuff that she usually would find problematic, she thinks is adorable now. She's like, I think he's the one. And then they go to a classroom. They're looking through, like, the door's window, and they're like, look, they're just watching a bunch of cartoons. Isn't that cute? I mean, that's not cute. That's really dumb. And I don't think it's cute. And they open the door, and a dead body just falls out from it. And then we get a shot of everyone in the room who has been killed by the vampires. Mm-hmm. And Cordelia freaks out. Willow freaks out. And rightfully so. This is like 6 kids dead in a room. There's Porky Pig with a bloody hand on the TV happening. Like, that's trauma, dude.
More pig references because the pigs were eaten in the hyena episode. If that's anything. If that's anything. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just I think it's probably more of a WB.
Maybe reference. It had to do with that.
Looney Tunes is WB, right? Yeah, that's Warner Bros.
Yeah. Maybe it had more to do with that Bible verse that the computer lady looked up, or Isaiah 11:27 or whatever it was.
And didn't Giles know it by heart?
Yeah. Because there was a bunch of like, oh, you're the lamb and the pig to slaughter, and blah blah blah.
That's really probably what it is. This guy falls over with clear vampire bite wounds in the neck.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this world, vampires are something that people know about. You know what I mean? Like, it's like in like Walking Dead, how people don't know that zombies are a thing in that world. That's why they call them walkers or whatever. But I feel like in this world, like, Dracula exists. Like, you know? So.
Well, it definitely does, because somebody early on in the season was like, how do you kill vampires? And Buffy was like, you know, crosses, wooden stakes, the usual stuff.
Yeah, so vampire is known. So when you see a bunch of kids with 2 bites in their necks and drained of blood, aren't people being like, hey, there's a vampire mimic serial killer, or there's actually a vampire around? Like, I don't know. And school doesn't close again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 6 kids dead.
Yeah, the dance still has got to go on.
When they talk about going to prom later that night, I lost it. I was like, it's no way there's a prom when 6 kids just died.
No, yeah, they have to do the dance in their honor, Vance. They have an in memoriam.
Like my God. Like, what is it? A post? What is it when you win an award after you die?
Posthumously.
Posthumous
prom king.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
So then Buffy's trying on her fancy dress, and then a mom comes into the room. She's like, Buffy, you gotta watch the news. It's Willow. And we're like, oh, what happened with Willow?
I know I sound like a broken record, but how is this news story more traumatizing than principal being eaten?
Yeah.
Or teacher decapitated, or 3 or 4 kids missing, kid commits suicide in computer lab, brain of kid found behind auditorium. I mean, everything's traumatizing. I don't see how these kids are more traumatized. I don't see how this is more traumatizing.
Vance, let me explain it to you, because the next scene explains it to us.
Oh, it's acted beautifully, but it will not explain it to me.
So Buffy goes to comfort Willow, and Willow is, understandably traumatized and freaked out. And she explains to Buffy, she's like, look, I've seen a lot of dead bodies recently. I've seen a lot of vampire shit going on, but this is quite different. This is in a room that I go in every day where, I hang out with people. This is where I have fun. I've had laughs there. And now a bunch of these kids are dead. And Buffy's like, oh, honey, I know.
Here's the thing. You knew you were on stage with that. You knew the smartest kid in school with the ventriloquist dummy who had his brain ripped out.
Yeah.
You knew all these people. You had a robot try to kill you or something. What was that robot that she was in love with
She was in love with it, and it was trying to kill her.
Yeah. She's witnessed some really traumatizing stuff.
She's been at the center of some really traumatizing stuff.
Xander has killed his best friend in the 2nd episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Xander, the guy that you're in love with, tried to assault Buffy.
Mm-hmm. And you.
Yeah. How do you...
And this is her breaking point. I mean, the performance is great. The sentiment is fine. But it's no way that in high school you don't break the 2nd. She was kidnapped from her house.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's got to compliment Buffy's dress. You look really good in your dress there, Buffy.
Because she's the ultimate girlfriend. She's the ultimate sidekick girlfriend. And that dress, why is it all white? It's great for the episode, weird for a prom dress to me.
Yeah. Well, it was weird that she had a baggy, disgusting leather jacket over top of it.
She's got to rock the jacket. Isn't that the one that Angel gave her?
I don't think it. Maybe it is.
I don't know. Anytime she wears a black jacket, I'm just assuming it's a Xander, an Angel. Gift.
Yeah. So
she's his cross that he gave her.
She's like, yeah, Willow, you better stay in tonight. And Willow's like, I absolutely will stay in tonight.
I was like, are your parents going to let you leave?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mom, I got to go to the prom I have no date to. Oh, you mean, okay, cool. There's just a murderer on the loose.
Yeah, I saw 6 kids die this morning, and I'm traumatized, but I got to dance.
Yeah.
The parents are like, all right, here's the keys. Go ahead. See ya.
She does end up going out later, too.
She absolutely does go out later. So then the Anointed One gets sent out to fetch Buffy. Giles is talking with Jenny Calendar, the computer lady, and he's like, well, I can't really rely on Buffy because she quit, so I'm going to fight this master myself. And then Buffy shows up in her prom dress, and she's like, no, you don't, Giles. I'm going to fight the master. And Giles is like, I will not let you die. And Buffy's like, I want to fight the master. And Giles is like, no. And she's like, yes. And he's like, will you just listen to what I say? I'm older than you. I'm wiser than you. I will fight the master. And then Buffy's like, I'm not going to listen to a word you say. And then punches him and knocks him out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, no matter what you say, I'm going to go. And she's like, I know. And then she really torques that punch. I mean, she like Stretch Armstrong spins all the way around.
She looked like a pitcher, like in a windup.
Yeah. And
it was like exaggerated. Like she completely turned around and was like, wow.
I was like, okay, so he's dead.
Yeah. No, he's got a concussion.
That was a really fun knockout face that he had too, where he freezes for a bit and stumbles.
I love this next part where Jenny Calendar's like holding him, and then Buffy goes, when he wakes up, tell him I said, I don't know. Think of something cool and say that I said it. It's like, yes.
That's exact. I was like, Buffy is so bad at coming up with one-liners and comebacks. This is so perfect. She can't even come up with a great thing to say to Giles before she dies.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. Think of something cool and say that I said it.
It's so perfect. It's exactly what Buffy would do. Hey, she's busy. She's slaying vampires. She doesn't have to be witty, except for sometimes she's witty against vampires. She does a Peter Parker when she fights vampires, but yeah.
So Buffy grabs a crossbow, and only a crossbow from the table of weapons that is just... There's so many weapons that she only takes a crossbow with 3 bows.
We need that scene in those old 80s, 90s action movies where the character just suits up with all the weapons and just starts putting them in all the pockets. Like you need
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, you need the Hot Fuzz scene. Yeah. Or like the Matrix, we need guns. And it's like, and they just grab everything.
Yeah.
Like she needs to be throwing stakes at them, dropping them, reloading stakes.
Yeah. Hopefully that comes in later on.
Yeah.
Because that was like, there's axes, there's stakes, there's swords, and you took one crossbow. Like you could hold something else in your hand.
That has proven not to work.
Right? So she walks outside of the school and immediately runs into the Anointed One, who like tries to dupe her and be like, will you help me? And she's like, look, I know who you are. Just take me to him.
Yeah, because she walks in when Giles is saying, hey, because they got information from... which internet witch was able to get information from random internet stranger who somehow knows. How is all of this documented? How are all of the vampires' names and their whereabouts all documented? Like who's following them around?
They have all of this lore. You know who needs this lore? We do. We need we need to know what's going on because Jenny Calendar's talking to some monk Lucas or something about the Anointed One, and
he's like, there's like a riddle, and it's like, well, the Anointed One must be a child, and I'm like, hey, go to the newspaper article about the 5 people dying. It'll tell you who the kid is. But this is really anticlimactic with the Anointed One. I mean, it's the most anticlimactic buildup of a character. And the worst use of a creepy kid character in TV I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. So she just walks over to the Anointed One, and he just starts walking with her to where the Master is.
Hand in hand. And she knows where it is. They're walking down the same hallway they went to get... It seems like they're walking down the same hallway they went to get Xander's friend, Jesse.
Exactly.
And I'm like...
They've already been down there.
And this is what drove me crazy. Like, she finds out she's going to die when she fights the Master. She freaks out. She was about to fight the Master with no weapons at the beginning of this season. Like, when did she become afraid of this stuff? Like, she was such a badass, and now all of a sudden someone read a book, and she's like, oh no.
Also, why doesn't she just fucking straight up kill the Anointed One right there?
When she had the crossbow, I was like, this is going to be dark and amazing that she's just going to shoot this kid. Like, right? Like, she grabs his hand. Like, he's the Anointed One. He could just bite you, right? Like, isn't that how vampires work?
I guess.
Do they have to bite your neck?
I don't know, man.
It's like, why would you trust? They just told you he's the bad guy.
Yeah, and you're, like, walking into death. Like, I was like, why doesn't she, like, kill the Anointed One? Like, when they're halfway there and be like, oh, I remember this is stab.
Oh, and like the trick was going to be there's a kid standing alone in the middle of the night in darkness, and that wasn't going to freak, and that was going to be like casual. Like if she didn't find out it was a kid, she'd really think this kid was lost.
Yeah,
it
made no sense.
Yeah, and just like we've had episodes of build up to this.
Yeah,
episodes and
a whole
episodes.
Season.
Well, I mean, when did he come in? Like, yeah,
he's
you're
the
right.
first episode.
No, the Anointed One's not first episode.
Oh, the Anointed One, yeah. No. The Anointed One's like probably like
4?
halfway.
No, it's 5. I think it's 5. Yeah, 5 is the Anointed One. So yeah, most like more than half the season.
So then we cut back to the library where Xander and Willow and Giles and Jenny Calendar are like discussing what the plan is, and Xander's like, "You let her go?" And I love Giles is like, "As you can see by this welt on my jaw, I did not let her go." And Xander's like, "I'm freaked out. Like, Buffy's going to die tonight. We need to be with her." And they're like, "We don't know where she's going." And then Xander's like, "I know somebody who does." And then he walks out. And I was like, who the hell does he know?
I knew exactly who he was referring to. I had no idea how he knew how to find him.
Yes. Same.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know who he was talking to or talking about, and I didn't know how he would found him, like when he does find him.
Yeah, it was just like, elimination of who he could possibly find.
Yeah, and so it turns out he goes to Angel's little underground lair, and he's like, hey, Buffy's gone. She's going to go fight the Master. And Angel's like, that's stupid. That means she's going to die. And he's like, yeah, but we're going to save her. And he's like, what do you think you're going to do? You're way out of your element, kid. And then Xander is like, yeah, you know what? I might be, but I got something that'll convince you. And then he just like shoves a cross in Angel's face.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Xander. All right, dude.
Yeah.
And then Angel's like taken back and he's like sits down. And then Xander's like, look, I don't like you. I think that you're, at the end of the day, you're just a fucking vampire. And I don't like that. And you're going to kill people. But you know what? Buffy needs you right now. And we need to save her. And then Angel's like, oh my God, you're in love with her, aren't you? And he's like, aren't you?
And they're like, And I'm like, interesting way to show your love. Xander's willing to risk his life to save her. And Angel's just going to mill around the apartment?
Yeah, he's just going to chill.
Like, he's not doing it. Like, even in the earlier episode when she walks down in that mausoleum and she goes to fight the Master and he goes, good luck.
Yeah.
like, bitch, you're a vampire. Get down there and start helping. Like, don't just, like, what are you afraid of? You got nothing to live for, really.
Yeah.
Like, go down there and help her. You physically could put up a fight. Give her some clues. Say, the Master...
fend off other vampires.
Yeah.
Kill the Anointed One.
Yeah. Oh, or say, hey, the Master has force powers. Like something.
Right. Where did that come from?
Like, give us some heads up.
Dude, I was so upset when that happened.
Yeah.
Which is what's basically Giles and Willow and the computer later doing some kind of bullshit research.
Wait,
Buffy
what does Willow find out here?
I don't remember.
I have in my notes it says more books.
Yeah, I literally have written down Giles, Willow, and computer lady research.
Yeah, that's literally it. Yeah.
They're researching something.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Buffy finally gets to the Master, and then the Anointed One disappears somehow. And then
never to be seen again.
Right?
Never to be seen again.
She gets into the little hole and she shoots her bow and arrow at the Master, and he just catches the arrow very easily. He's like, you know that this isn't going to kill me. And then Buffy's taking like 15 minutes to reload the crossbow.
Yeah. He does. The Master does have my favorite line. She comes down and does some like nonsense banter, and he's like, "Oh, the feeble banter before the fight, the real fight begins."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Yes," because I love when the show gets meta with their own stuff.
Yeah, and then right after he says that, she shoots the crossbow, and he's like, "This isn't gonna work. You know that." And then
her reloading it, I was like, "It's no way she's ever gonna reload this crossbow."
Yeah. So then Xander and Angel are going into the tunnels to get to where the master is, and Xander is like, "Were you just looking at my neck? You were looking at my neck. You're gonna eat me." And Angel's like, "I'm not looking at your neck, dude." He's like, "You stay. You keep your distance, buddy."
I'll say this: I don't normally like rewind or anything, but I definitely went back to check and see.
Was Angel looking at his neck?
Yeah, and he really is not really noticeable. Like he looks at him, but it's not an overt stare at his neck or anything.
Okay.
And I did go back one other time in this episode with the bloody handprint on the TV, because I was like, wait, was that in the wide shot?
Yeah, was it?
It is.
Okay.
Because I was like, wait, they were looking at the TV and didn't notice this giant bloody stain on it, and I was like, oh yeah, it was there.
See, I was wondering that, but I didn't have the commitment to rewind.
Yeah, I just went back, and I was like, okay, cool.
So then Buffy gets attacked by the Master, and vampires show up at the school, and they surround Willow and the computer lady, who are trying to get to the bronze, because I think that's where the vampires are going to attack.
That's where in my notes I have in all caps, they didn't cancel the prom. Yeah. Where's this principal? Where's this no nonsense principal when we need him?
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably at the prom.
He's probably
chaperone. Yeah. So then Buffy's walking around the hideout, and she's like, "For someone that's so all powerful, you really like to hide a lot." And then the Master shows up behind her, and then he throws the crossbow down, and she tries to punch him, and then runs away. And this is where he starts using the Force from Star Wars.
Yeah, when did he have this?
I have no idea. And Force chokes her.
And I love that they always fight with like generic jujitsu punches, or like like when did the vampires learn this in the ancient? I don't know, just so silly.
It's pretty rough. So he uses the Force, and then he comes up behind Buffy, and she's like, he says something about like, "You must know that the prophecy means that you're going to die." And then he's like behind her, all creepy like. And he's like, "But the prophecy doesn't say everything that's going to happen to you." And I was like, what the fuck are we about to see, dude? But he whispers in her ear, and he goes, "I am going to get free, but it's you who lets me out." And then Buffy's like, "Wait, what?" And then before we can ask any questions, he bites her in the neck, and then throws her face down in a pool, like a fountain.
It's like I don't know why there's this running dirty water in this place. I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, she falls face down in her white dress, limp body into this.
I mean, that was a good fall down. Like, she looks done for, dude.
All right, so here's my question. And I got more, but this is the one for right now. So the Master says he needed her to come down to fight him so that she would free him.
Yeah.
Why has he been trying to kill her this whole time?
Maybe because...
Did he just stumble across the same book at the same time that Giles did? Because he was sending people to kill her. Like, he sent the 3 to kill her. He killed Colin, the other vampire, because they didn't kill her.
Yeah. Maybe it's because with her killing all of his, like, henchmen, like, maybe the henchmen can give him the blood that he needs. And if she wasn't there, then the henchman could give him the blood that he needs to get out or something. Remember the harvest? But that's only happens once every 400 years or whatever.
Yeah, they were like, that's every 2 decades or something. Like, so it seemed like he shouldn't be able to come up for another 20 years, not like another semester.
Yeah, I don't really know how this all works.
That's the thing that got me. I was like, if this has been a possibility that you knew about this whole time, why didn't you just lure her down there when she was actually looking for you?
And also, what's the point of the Anointed One? Like, I don't understand how that kid fits in.
Wait, he just walked her there. Like, that wasn't what his goal was. Remember they asked him, what would you do about her? He was like, annihilate her.
Yeah.
It's like, but the master would be like, no, we can't annihilate her because I need her to come down here. I need her to come down here. She's the key.
I like where your head's at, but we can't do that.
Can't do that. I told you. I really just needed a little kid that I could talk to, and that's why I had my vampires kill your whole family. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
It makes no logical sense to me.
I never thought about that until you just brought that up. That makes so much... What you're saying makes so much sense, and the show makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it just negates the whole, what we just saw the last 11 episodes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, but the master is freed. He puts his hand up to the little warbly force field and breaks through it with the power of overexposure.
I want to see what's on that other side of the wall, because the rest of the place looks like a natural cave or whatever, but somehow this lets him walk to the rooftop of a building.
Yeah, I have no idea. So then Angel and Xander arrive just as the force field is being broken, and he's like,
we haven't talked about them being surrounded at the school.
Oh yeah, we did.
We didn't say they were surrounded by vampires though.
Oh yeah, they were.
No, I know. Did we talk
Willow?
about that?
Yeah. Well, I briefly mentioned it.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it a long gap between?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I thought that that whole scene was one piece, but you're right.
Yeah. So, Xander and Angel arrive just as the force field's being broken, and then Angel's like, "It's too late. The master's gone." And then so they run in and they see Buffy face down in a pool of or the fountain or whatever, and Xander and Angel run over to her, and then they're like, "We gotta try and save her." Angel's like, "She's dead. She's not breathing." And then Xander's like, "We got to do CPR." And then Angel's like, "Well, you gotta do it because I don't have breath."
Also, I don't know what CPR is.
Yeah, right? So then Xander starts doing CPR to Buffy, and he just is like pressing down on her chest, going like, "Come on." Then we go back to the school.
Well, I'll say this. Magic CPR was a big thing back
in this time. Oh, it's still a big thing.
Do they still do it in movies?
Absolutely. They do the waking up and then they cough and then it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, this wake up, I mean, we're getting a little ahead, but this wake up and cough was really weird, which led me to some questions.
Yeah, and everything that happens after led to some questions for me.
This episode the end of this episode is just going to be us asking questions with no answers.
Yeah. So then we're back at the school, and the Calendar and Jenny Calendar and Willow are surrounded by vampires, and then a car comes screeching up, and it's Cordelia, and she's like, "Get in!" And she Calendar and Willow get in, and then fucking Cordelia just starts doing like donuts in a party. And there's a vampire on top, and everybody's screaming, and then he flies off. And then we go back to the CPR saving Buffy. And I know what you're looking forward to, but that we go back to the CPR saving Buffy.
We do. I keep like, they got intercutting. Yeah. Because I'm ready to get to it. I'm ready.
I could tell. So Buffy wakes up and they have like an insane zoom in, and then she kind of like Undertaker rises up, and she's like, "I gotta fight the master. Where is he?" And they're like, "Dude, you just died. You're weak." And she's like, "Actually, I feel stronger than ever." Yeah. And I was like, is she a vampire now?
Yeah.
Is she a vampire?
They haven't said if she's a vampire yet.
Because he bit her. She died. She was at least face down in that fountain for, like a good at least 10 seconds not breathing.
The thing that makes me think that she's a vampire is that when he's doing the CPR, she like opens her eyes like she's alive, and then later coughs up the water. Normally it would be come to coughing up water. Yeah. Like she wakes up and then later does it. It's like a weird edit between.
Well, it's also like,
and she also got bit.
She got bit, and then she's like, "I feel more powerful than ever." Yeah. And I was like, she's a fucking vampire. She's got to be a vampire. Right. The master bit her.
Wait.
If anyone.
No. You know what? God, I forgot. Her mom was bitten by a vampire and didn't turn too.
Remember,
it's a whole thing. It's not, you have to like get bitten and then like, it's a whole process.
Don't they have to put their blood into your bloodstream or something? Okay, never mind that.
So what do bites do? Just suck a little blood out of you?
This shows a bunch of bullshit, dude. I don't understand anything that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the vampire.
Why does she feel more powerful than ever? It doesn't make any...
This is like some really biblical. It's one of those like double entendres of the prophecy. She will fight the master and she will die, but dying, she'll be reborn. Better.
Yeah, did Giles like just immediately stop reading there and like missed the other parts of it?
But that's the thing I didn't understand about later when she confronts the master. He's like, "You're supposed to be dead." That's what the prophecy said. Even though what he just said to her was like, sometimes the prophecy isn't everything, you know?
Yeah.
He just told her that logic and he's not taking his own information.
So now Buffy and Xander and Angel are like on their way to fight the master. And now we get Cordelia driving everybody. She's like, where do we need to go? And then Willow's like, we got to go to the library. And then Cordelia's like, library it is. And then Smash drives her car through this entire cardboard school. This school is made of nothing. It is made of paper.
It is amazing. It is incredible. I love Cordelia so much for even thinking to do this.
Like,
if they would have gone up or down some stairs, that's the only thing that would have made this better.
I think they did go up some stairs. That's the first thing that they did, I thought.
No, they go through. Do they go upstairs? I thought they ran through the gym and it's just a bunch of hallways with lockers. I don't know if they went up any stairs, but
I mean, is there no concrete in this school at all?
I don't know. Do you remember what her car was?
It was like, it looked like a Pontiac Grand Am.
Also, it didn't look like a car that she would drive, knowing what I know about her.
Same. I would have expected like a Beamer. It might have been a Beamer, and I just can't recognize a 97 Beamer.
Yeah. But whatever that car is made out of would not be able to go through the foundation of a doorway.
No, dude. Absolutely not.
But I just love, they're like, we need to get to the library. One, I was like, why go to the library? Get the hell out of this area.
Right?
Like, just start driving.
Yeah, fuck Giles.
Like, yeah, at that point.
Giles has all the weapons, too. Like, he's going to be fine. He can lock himself in that library prison.
Yeah. He doesn't have like a shutdown switch that he can just pull and just all these locks come down.
Nah.
But yeah, I mean, she drives through the whole school and it's amazing.
Just smashing everything.
So this school is shut down, right? Because it's only spring.
Yeah.
You know they wanted to have a scene where they're in school the next morning.
Yeah, they probably were like, oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're just stepping over rubble. Get to class, guys.
No, because then they would have been like, man, that earthquake really did a doozy on it. That would have been the excuse.
Dude, when they leave the library later and they're like, hey, let's just go to prom. I'm like, your car is in the hallway.
Yeah, they would have shown up to school the next day. The car's like, man, this earthquake, even cars came through this. Wow.
Yeah.
So then the master's on the roof and there's like a bunch of crazy shit happening. Like they get into the library and all the vampires are surrounding them. The master's on the roof being like, yes, my preciouses and all that stupid shit. Buffy and Xander and Angel show up and the theme song's playing and she's like, I'm going to kick some vampire ass. And then there's a vampire that shows up at the entrance and she's like, ooh, look, a bad guy. And then like barely shoves him. Like I thought that she was just going to like throw him through the door or something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think when the theme song kicked in? When they just start slow walking? Like it's supposed to be this big like, oh yeah, Buffy's coming. Yeah. And it's the least energetic, cool. Like I know we're going to get some later. Like when she actually starts wearing her like classic Buffy red and black outfit and stuff. But this one is so lame. And and the visual of her just in the white wedding dress type thing with Angel and Xander are it just like the way it was put together didn't have any energy to it. It was like, here's the theme, and she just walked and she punches a vampire, not killing him. Like,
yeah,
what?
I completely agree with you. I think that if she had like tossed that vampire into outer space, it would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like she just shoves the vampire onto the ground and like he's not dead. He's just like, oh.
She hit Giles harder than she hit that vampire.
Yeah. And we didn't even see her hit the vampire. It like happened off screen. You just see the vampire's body fall.
Yeah.
It was so bad. So then there's like some kind of alien tentacle monster and like
insane.
There's like a bunch of vampires trying to break into the library. Giles, Willow, and Computer Lady are trying to ward them off. And then there's a tentacle that grabs Willow and everybody starts screaming. And the master's watching this from above. And then Buffy shows up on the roof and she's like, hey, what's up? I'm going to kick your ass. And he's like, you're supposed to be dead. She's like, well, I'm not. In fact, what did she say? I'm not dead. I'm pretty or something.
Yeah, something like her being pretty. Like, so
she says, I'm not dead. I'm pretty, which is more than I can say for you or something like that.
Yeah, it was really one of those things where Buffy has high esteem for herself now. Like, is she the new Cordelia?
All it took was her getting bitten by the master, you know? Then the tentacle thing shows its face and it's like this 3-headed gross alien thing, and Giles is attacking it with an axe, and Xander and Angel are fighting off other vampires to keep Buffy free to fight the master.
How lame was it when Angel stabs that one vampire with the stake? He was like, yeah. It was like a little jab, like a kid would jab something, you know? Like, yeah. It was like, you're supposed to be this like dominant vampire. Like, we've heard legends of you, and like all we see you do is go, eh.
Well, also, I hated when they get to the school and Buffy turns to Angel and goes, get your game face on. And then and then it's like him in his vampire form. It's like, why?
And it was like a growling sound effect, like, oh, like it reminded me of, I mean, that's probably where they got that Hulk smash moment, you know? That's what it felt like, Captain America telling Hulk smash and give it a look. But it was like, does he need to be in vampire mode to be strong? I don't know.
I didn't think so.
And there's a point.
Does that like gain him some strength?
There's a point where he's standing right next to Xander, and Xander's weapon is a cross. Yeah. And I'm like, you guys are really close together. He is still a vampire. Also, the cross holds them back. Just put that around your neck.
Yes.
Like, just like, I don't know. Like, put your body into a T or something.
Your whole outfit should just be Jesus.
Yeah. You should just be soaked in garlic.
Yes. Like, holy water.
Holy water and garlic. Like holy water in a super soaker or just a mini water gun should be like in your pocket at all times.
Absolutely, it should.
Yeah, even if someone looks at you funny and you don't know, you squirt them with water and be like, my bad. Like honestly, I'd be so paranoid.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, he has no killing weapon at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just has the cross.
Yeah.
So Buffy is fighting the master and he does his force choke thing. And he's like, I guess I have to kill you again. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, that hypnosis stuff only works for the tourists now. And then kicks him and then choke slams him through the roof. And he lands on a wooden spike. And then after he dies, everybody dies.
Yeah. More Avengers nest and more like, oh, kill the main vampire. All the other vampires disappear or something. Which I don't know. I don't know where all the other vampires went after he died.
Yeah, they were surrounding everybody.
Yeah, did they just go, oh, the master's dead, let's walk home?
Yeah.
Or like, hey, you know what? The master's dead, let's go to the prom and just cause chaos.
Hey, you know what? The master's dead. I wasn't really that hungry anyway. So.
Yeah. Show's over, everyone.
So bizarre.
Yeah, and the thing, one thing that we missed is like Cordelia gets stuck holding the door by herself. Yeah. And then the vampire's reaching in. And I love that she bit the vampire and then says, how do you like it?
Yeah.
And now she's officially part of the team.
Yeah, she knows the jig is up. She knows there's vampires. There's aliens. She's seeing all this happen.
Yeah. And
she knows that Buffy is the vampire slayer.
Yeah. She kind of was putting it together beforehand, too. She was like the only one that was somewhat aware.
Yeah.
But also, Buffy has the best vision. Like, she can't tell who's a vampire or not, but she has the best vision of anyone. The fact that she's on a rooftop, looking through that frosted glass.
It was definitely frosted, dude.
Yeah, it's frosted glass. Because if anybody's been on a rooftop like that with that glass that's in like a little dome atop a building, you can kind of see in on a sunny day, but like you're not seeing specifically what's down there and gauging trajectory. And again, she goes up to the roof with no killing weapon.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, this is happenstance. And it was the weirdest prop rig where they're fighting in the library and something happens and this piece of wood cardboard thing like snaps up and it's like a pointy stake. And I was like, oh, that's going to be what they kill that slimy monster on, right? Because I don't even know if I guess that's a demon that's friends with the master. I have no idea what that thing is. And then she somehow sees that, looks down, and then goes, ooh, body slam time.
Yeah.
And body slams the master on.
She like Undertaker choke slams mankind to the master onto the spike, and then he like, he turns into dust or whatever, and then just his skeletons, the worst like just science room skeletons just laying on this table.
Yeah, I was like, wait, so if you're the master, you get skeleton? Like everyone else just turns into dust.
Yeah.
And they just leave it there.
Yeah, they're like, what are we going to do about him? And Buffy's like, I'll be there in the morning.
I'm like, Giles, this is your chance to study skeletal DNA of, I mean, he's not like that scientist, but like you have the skeleton of the master in your library. You need to put that in your trunk or something. Like you need to make sure that the 3 cops in this town don't take it. You know? Dude. As the cops, as the sirens are heard on my side. They're coming for it.
But instead of doing all of that, Vance, they decide, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go to the Bronze. Let's go to the Spring Fling. Like Giles, the calendar lady is coming. Cordelia is like, this is so cool. And like Buffy's even like, yeah, I already got all prettied up. Let's go.
Yeah, Buffy's feeling herself right now. Like,
absolutely she is.
Before she's like, oh my God, that guy won't date me. And now she's like, I'm the hottest shit in the world. And Xander's gotten over his love of Buffy now, somehow.
Yeah.
Like, he's like not worried that Angel's walking in the back with her.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Angel's walking with Buffy in the back and Xander's up in the front with Willow.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
I mean, everybody can pair off if they want, except for Cordelia. Her boyfriend died this morning.
Yeah, no, she's cool though.
What was she doing at school?
She was looking for. He was supposed to bring her something, and she was, I guess, gonna. Oh, at the car at night? Yeah, I have no idea what she was doing at night.
She just like, all these people came out, and then I hopped in my car and sped over here. I was just so happy she came over, but it was great. Yeah.
It was also like she wasn't dressed for the dance. Like if she was going to the dance, she had like some leggings on and like a regular top. Like she didn't have a dress.
Yeah, like, and all of her boyfriends keep getting beat up or murdered.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like if you're like, she was finally turning a corner of being like a nice person this episode too. Like she was softening up, and I feel like seeing her boyfriend like murdered in a room full of other people would have really hit her harder than, say, Willow.
Yeah.
Like, if that happened to Xander, I'm okay with Willow losing it, you know?
Yeah.
Because we saw Buffy lose it when she thought her boyfriend died. Her date.
Who, Owen?
Yeah.
That guy that we only saw for that one episode.
Maybe he'll come back.
I doubt
He would have loved this excitement.
Oh, he absolutely would have. That sicko.
Yo, honestly, if he likes death and stuff like that, this school is perfect for him. He doesn't need Buffy. He just needs to come in and be like, whoa, all these people murdered in this room. Like, he's the one like hangs out in that computer lab later.
Yeah, that's true.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Someone like sniffing stuff.
Someone killed themselves in the witch's computer lab room.
Yeah.
Or like was murdered but framed as a suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore.
But my biggest question was whether or not she was a vampire, but then talking it out, I guess she's not because they didn't do the full vampire.
That was my big question.
Yeah.
Well, but now the big question is, why was she so much stronger?
I'm sure. I mean, I hope the beginning of season 2 is Giles walking around the now refurbished library with with 3 books open, being like, "Well, I've done some studies, and and
here's why you're so much stronger."
If now that we have the skeleton of the master, we can just jam his teeth into you whenever you need a power boost.
That'd be pretty cool. But I guess the long story short, long season short. The Hellmouth was closed by the end of this episode. It's no longer a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody goes to the dance, and it's happily ever after.
Does that mean that one? Or there's multiple Hellmouths, I assume, because they talk about it that way. But now that the Hellmouth is closed on Sunnydale, does that mean the vampires go somewhere else? Does Buffy need to travel with?
Huh? Have steak will travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the Hellmouth is definitely closed in Sunnydale.
Yeah.
So is the supernatural stuff done in Sunnydale?
I mean, you have an angel in a Hellmouth, and now you just have an angel.
Gotta kill Angel now.
I gotta kill it. That's all Xander talks about all next season.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do about this angel problem?
Yeah, he's the last vampire here. We gotta kill him.
I know where he lives somehow because I stalked him to his apartment.
I have no idea how he knew where he lived.
This is apparently easy for him to, and I guess he has a cell phone that you can call him.
Yeah, that's
Giles
true.
calls him.
Yeah,
he's very easy to find. Darla had no trouble getting into his place.
Yeah. For as mysterious and brooding as he is, it's like everybody just like stumbles upon his apartment.
Yeah.
He's living in a laser tag arena.
A realtor's going to come in and be like, "Hey, we're putting this up on the market.
You haven't paid your rent in 6 months.
Yeah. In 10 years? You're aging wonderfully, by the way."
All right. Well, that is it for the episode and the first season. You have any final thoughts here, Vance?
I don't know. I feel like I thought I had some, but I feel like we covered a bunch of them. And this episode, they jam-packed a lot in it. Because I was like, it's 45 minutes and it has a ton. They packed a ton into this episode. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. I really appreciate you sticking around for the first season. Get ready for season 2, where we talk about the episode When She Was Bad.
Yeah, maybe Buffy's still reeling from this whole biting the neck thing.
Possibly.
Oh my gosh.
Possibly.
Is she gonna walk into the school, slow motion, a whole song playing like Xander did when he was a cool hyena in the pack?
Oh, that would be pretty sweet.
It'd be weird to be doing that again so soon, but sure.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us on Instagram at BoysWatchingBuffy. Email us BoysWatchingBuffy@gmail.com. Subscribe, rate, and review, and all that stuff.
Yeah, we don't ask for rate and reviews that often. We don't do it. People know how this stuff works, but it helps us in the beginning. So we're in the beginning of this long stretch, and yeah, just if you like this, recommend it to at least one of your friends in real life if you can. That'll help. And then like it on whatever podcast streaming service you do. Apple Podcast works, and hit us up. Email us. Let us know what you think. Give us some thoughts.
All right. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you for season 2. Later.
When he wakes up, tell him... I don't know. Think of something cool. Tell him I said it.
Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.